This episode of WandaVision was really something special because I know a lot of people didn't really like the first two episodes because there was no real MCU stuff and it was just full-on sitcom. I overall enjoyed them. I liked it, but I feel that this episode is really going to please everybody because it was able to balance out the sitcom tropes and the sitcom vibes while still building up and evolving that MCU mystery that we have going on here in the background. And it's really interesting and fun to play along with and look for the little clues here and there. This is just really fun. I love mysteries like this. So it's really cool to see this in an MCU setting here now as well. And of course we are talking full-on spoilers here because there is a lot to talk about. But before I get into the episode itself, I do want to talk about the intro. So of course we do get another intro here for this episode, just like the first two episodes. But unlike the first two episodes, this intro doesn't really have any Easter eggs in it. I mean, it has a few that are just referencing the baby, we see them, Wanda and Vision buying a baby crib and stuff like that. So those are cool little references. We get to see some pregnant Wanda, so that's cool. We get appearances from the neighbors like Herb and Agnes and Geraldine, so all that stuff is cool. And this whole episode is based off of the Brady Bunch, and it takes place in the 70s-ish, and so that was really cool to see. And we got some awesome Brady Bunch huge references in the intro, like Vision building that swing, because that swing was a thing in the Brady Bunch show, and the fake grass and everything. So that was awesome to see all of that stuff. But one interesting thing to note is the hexagons, because there's a lot of hexagons in this intro. And we saw this in the first two episodes as well. When the episode entered, when it started, and when it ended, it entered and exited with hexagons. That was the transition. It was hexagons. So there has to be a reason for this. But what do these hexagons mean? Because I honestly have no idea. So if you have any theories or anything about what these hexagons mean, then definitely let me know down in the comments below, because it's got to mean something, because they keep putting them in there. I just have no idea what they mean. So hexagons, definitely something interesting to think about there. And then also in this episode, we do get another commercial just like the first two episodes. But also not really any big MCU connections or references here, except for it is called Hydra Soak. So, Hydra, MCU, big reference there. And there are some octopuses or octopi on the packaging, so that's a nice reference to Hydra as well. But other than that, not really any big references like how we got the Dark Toaster and the Hydra Strucker watch and everything in the first two episodes, but it was still really cool to see. But now we start off this episode with the doctor. He is checking out Wanda and he's like, "Yep, you're pregnant." And Wanda definitely doesn't have a normal pregnancy here. Not at all, because this episode is all about the birth of the twins, Tommy and Billy. And like I said, it's not your average birth. It's definitely not something you see every day. First of all, the fact that she is 6 months pregnant in the first 12 hours of being pregnant, that's not something that happens very often, but it does here. And so that was definitely very crazy. And I liked seeing the little things here about how when she first found out that they're pregnant, they were going over oh, what are we going to name them? And Vision was like, "Oh, I really like the name Billy." And Wanda's like, "Oh, I like the name Tommy." And then obviously we see that come to fruition with both of them getting their names chosen, because it ends up being twins, but they don't know that until Billy actually pops out. So that was cool to see, but I'll talk about that more later. But this is where things start to go crazy, because, like I said, her pregnancy is going by very quickly, and all of a sudden, the kitchen goes haywire. Everything is all over the place because she is having a false labor contraction. I don't know exactly what to call it, because I haven't been pregnant before, and it's kind of not a thing that can happen because I'm a dude. But yeah, it was cool to see all this crazy stuff here. But then we get some weird stuff here, like Vision. He starts questioning what's going on. He's like, "Something is not right here, Wanda." And then all of a sudden he blips back. It's not a rewind like we saw at the end of the last episode with the beekeeper. There's no rewind. It's just blip. he's back to where he was before. And at first I was like, what did my internet just skip this? Like, what is happening here? But no, that's actually part of the episode. So maybe there's a difference there. Maybe at the end of last episode that was something Wanda did, but maybe the fact that there was no rewind here, maybe this is something that Mephisto did, maybe that Wanda didn't do. So I don't know there, but that was really cool to see, because you're seeing these hints here where like they start to question things and then all of a sudden gets reset to put everything back on track, and it's just crazy. And then things get crazier when Wanda's water breaks, and again, not the way that it usually happens, because then it starts raining in the house, and then of course Wanda is doing her breathing exercises, like he whoo, that good stuff. Good thing to keep in mind for the future when I'm having a baby. Good to know. But then it stops raining. Wanda uses the wind to dry off, so that's cool that she's using her powers to her advantage there. But obviously, the baby's about to come. They thought they had days, which already is not the average pregnancy, but no, they had hours until this baby is coming. So Vision goes off to get the doctor. He's going on vacation, so he's got to be quick to go get him. But meanwhile, while Wanda is home alone, the doorbell rings and Geraldine shows up. So then Geraldine comes in. She's telling Wanda about, I got this promotion at work, and that's probably a reference to maybe she got a promotion at Sword in the real world. With her job there, so that's cool to see. And then all of a sudden, a stork appears in the background. At first, I was like, is that a goose? But then I realized, that's a stork, and then it made sense because like stork babies, all that good stuff. So that was cool to see. And actually, I don't know if they ever explained like what happened to that stork. Like we saw it blend in the nursery, but like was that the last time we saw it? Like did they ever explain that? Is there just a stork running around there? Who knows? There's too many questions with this series, but it's so fun. I just love this. This is so cool. But then when Geraldine realizes that Wanda is actually pregnant, Wanda goes into labor, and it's like, ooh, it's happening. The baby is coming. So then the whole house is going crazy because Wanda's going into labor, and then Geraldine has to end up delivering the baby, and then Vision shows up, and he's like, oh, I missed it. And that's a really emotional moment, because like that's really sad. Like if you miss the birth of your child, like that's not something good to keep in the back of your mind. But just as he shows up, it's like, all right, so they name the baby Tommy, so that's cool and everything. But then all of a sudden, Billy pops out. Like they had no idea it was going to be twins. Another baby just all of a sudden pops out, and then we've got Billy. So now we have the twins, and eventually they will grow up to join the Young Avengers and everything, and become Wiccan and Speed. So that's cool. But then the doctor, he decides that he's not going on vacation, and he says to Vision like, oh, the wife and I, we decided we're not going on vacation because it's a small town and it's hard to escape. And clearly that's a reference to the fact that they can't escape this reality. All these different people are trapped here, and they can't escape. They have no choice but to live out this sitcom, and they're not all in control. And then this is where we see some crazy stuff with the neighbors here, including Agnes, where earlier in the episode we saw Herb. He was using a chainsaw to like try and cut down the brick fence, which is like, Herb, what you doing? Like that's not. He was acting weird there. And then Agnes shows up. She's talking to Herb and everything. And then this is where they start telling Vision about their concerns of Geraldine. Of course, first Agnes has got to throw in a mention of Ralph, because Ralph, he's an important character. We got to figure out who Ralph is. Is he Mephisto? Maybe. We'll have to wait and see. But then they, like I said, they go on to talk about Geraldine and how they're concerned about her, like, oh, she doesn't have a family. And then Herb starts talking about her, and he starts saying that, oh, Geraldine, she came here because we're all ... He doesn't get to finish the sentence because Agnes interrupts him, and she's like, oh, gotta get back on track, I've gotta be going now, let's have a good day and all that stuff. So clearly Agnes, we know she is hiding something. We know she has something to do with what's going on. So she doesn't want the truth to be out there. So she had to stop Herb there. And Herb, he is clearly somebody that is trapped in this reality. He wants to get the truth out there so that he can escape this reality, but he couldn't do it. He is trapped. And then Vision gets even more confused, because then it's like, why can you not finish that sentence? Because we're all what? Because what are you all? And obviously it's because they're all trapped. So that was crazy there. But then with Geraldine and Wanda, this is where we get the even crazier stuff, where Wanda's all happy that she has her twins now, and then she's like, I'm a twin as well. I had a brother named Pietro. Huge reference to Quicksilver there. And then Geraldine is like, Pietro, Ultron killed him, didn't he? And then Wanda just looks at her like, how do you know that? And she starts to get mad, like, how dare you bring up the death of my brother? And then we don't see Geraldine for a while here, and I was like, what happened to her? And then all of a sudden, the final scene of the episode is we then turn to the real world, where we see that Geraldine has been flung out of the sitcom reality by Wanda using her Scarlet-y magic. And then Geraldine is just lying there on the ground. It looks like we're at the Sword base, the Sword HQ, and then all these military trucks and helicopters start surrounding her. And as we saw in the trailer, the real Monica Rambeau on the outside in the real world is actually going to be standing there seeing her as well. So we're going to be having two different Monicas, even though it's Monica and Geraldine. So I guess that's going to be how you're going to tell the difference. But that was crazy. And then you see like this giant force field with like this giant sword fence around it with like, this technical stuff going on there. And this is the like bridge between dimensions, the bridge between the real world and this sitcom reality that Wanda is currently living in. And we saw a bit of this in the trailer where it was all red and scarlet-y, like I said, like Scarlet Witch. But right now the force field is all TV static, which makes sense because that's kind of the whole thing going on here. So maybe as we go on, maybe once we get into those final 3 episodes, when we're done with the whole sitcom thing, maybe that's when Wanda will go full crazy, full House of M Scarlet Witch mode, and maybe that's when it will turn to red magic, red scarlet-y magic, So this was a crazy episode. We heard that this 3rd episode was going to be crazy, that we're going to start unraveling more of this mystery. And like I said, we do get answers to some of our questions. But then we end up having more questions by the end of this. Like, what are those hexagons about? How are we going to deal with Sword and Geraldine now being on the outside world? And with the name drop of Pietro, are we actually going to see an appearance of Quicksilver in the series? Hopefully, whether it's Aaron Taylor Johnson's Quicksilver or Evan Peters' Quicksilver. I'm hoping it's Aaron Taylor Johnson's, but we'll see what happens. So this episode was it was just crazy. I just loved all the little references here. And like I said, it really is just a big MCU mystery, and you have to be looking for these clues all throughout these episodes to really piece this mystery together. And like I've said in my videos before, it most likely is Mephisto. And of course, I did do my episode last week of Who Dat Devil, episode 1, where I tried to figure out who was secretly Mephisto in disguise. So definitely check that out if you haven't seen it already. I do plan on doing a 2nd episode here as well, so stay tuned for that. And also I have another video coming out about WandaVision for it's actually been revealed all the sitcoms that they're adapting for this series as well. That video was supposed to come out yesterday, so when I'm talking about episode 3, I reference it as, oh, the video's coming out tomorrow. So just ignore that. It was a big mistake. It wouldn't upload, so sorry about that. But this gets me really excited for next week with episode 4, which will be set in the 80s, and it's going to be based on family ties. So I'm really excited for that, even though I haven't seen any episodes of that series. But I'm just really excited for that. And when we found out it was only going to be half-hour episodes every week, I was concerned because, like, is that going to be enough? But it is. With all this MCU craziness, with all the clues being here, it gets me excited and leaves me with enough here to get me excited for next week, but still feel satisfied with what we got this week. So, guys, this was a crazy episode. You gotta let me know down in the comments below all your thoughts on this episode, and of course, all your theories for this season of WandaVision. What'd you think about it? What do you think is going to happen in the next episode and the future of WandaVision? So, guys, thanks so much for watching. Please drop a like if you enjoyed this video and hit the subscribe button so I can keep you up to date on everything that goes on in the Marvel life.